Now this is more like it, right? We want the best quality ingredients when we cook. But when it comes to salt, we care less. We say salt is salt. Well, I care about my salt. It goes into my food and my body. So I use Dangote salt. Dangote salt is high-quality salt that is refined and iodized to give great taste to my meals and also to support my family's health and well-being. It's time to care about your salt.
Ina da yaƙinin wasu abubuwan ba za su taɓa canzawa ba. Tabbas, abota ta gari da nagartaccen abinci sukan sa a tuna kyakkyawan tarihi. Dangote Classic Seasoning, nagartaccen abinci, kyawawan lokuta.
Seasoning gives your meals that irresistible aroma and a delightful taste. It's available in chicken and beef variants.
Aroma so great, it's just a cube away. Thank you, food so sweet.
This union is already blessed. Not until she serves me more of this.
Now this is more like it, right? We want the best quality ingredients when we cook. But when it comes to salt, we care less. We say salt is salt. Well, I care about my salt. It goes into my food and my body. So I use Dangote salt. Dangote salt is high-quality salt that is refined and iodized to give great taste to my meals and also to support my family's health and well-being. It's time to care about your salt.
Ina da yaƙinin wasu abubuwan ba za su taɓa canzawa ba. Tabbas, abota ta gari da nagartaccen abinci sukan sa a tuna kyakkyawan tarihi. Dangote Classic Seasoning, nagartaccen abinci, kyawawan lokuta.
Seasoning gives your meals that irresistible aroma and a delightful taste. It's available in chicken and beef variants.
Aroma so great, it's just a cube away. Thank you, food so sweet.
This union is already blessed. Not until she serves me more of this.
Shall we rise for the opening prayer, please? In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Father, we have all assembled here today to discuss the past and the future of our company. We pray that you will grant us the wisdom and knowledge to be able to do this, and at the end of the day, may we be happy in ourselves that we have rendered the necessary services to mankind and to the continuation of the business we have come to discuss. Such is very important in every aspect of our lives, and therefore, whatever we want to discuss here will receive your blessings. Father, thank you for bringing us safely to this meeting. We pray at the end of the day, we'll be happy in what you have done and depart happily. We pray that the pandemic will not be an obstacle in our life. We pray that the business will continue to grow. This and so many other things that may not be remembered, but God knows the heart of every one of us. We ask through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you very much, Sir Nwosu. So there are 8 items of business before you today. You will all have an opportunity to move or to second each of the motions put to the meeting and to make contributions as you may wish. There will thereafter be an opportunity for questions on each motion before a vote is taken on it. Please ensure that you raise your hand and receive approval before you speak. There are microphones in the room. There are 3 right in front here, so that everyone should be able to hear. I would therefore request that you speak audibly, and please can you commence by stating your names. The Register of Directors' Shareholdings is available for inspection during this meeting in compliance with Section 2758 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004. Before we proceed to the more formal matters on the agenda, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you the directors of your company present here. I am Mrs. Yemisi Ayeni, the chairperson of your company. Thank you. On my immediate left is Mr. Paul Farah, your managing director. Next to him is Mr. Olakunle Alake, your non-executive director. On my immediate right is Mr. Adedayo Samuel, the company secretary. And next to him is Professor Chris Ogbeche, your non-executive director. I would also like to introduce the shareholder representative on the audit committee that is present in the room, Dr. Oke Umbuke, the committee chairman. In view of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, the other directors of the company, as well as the other 2 shareholder representatives on the audit committee, Dr. Umar Farouk and Hajia Ayodele Kudaisi, are joining the meeting virtually. We are here representing the directors, while the shareholders on the audit committee are represented by Dr. Umbuke. Despite them not being physically present in this room, I would like to introduce to you the other directors of the company. Our Executive Director Commercial, Ms. Fatima Aliko Dangote, and the remaining 5, non-executive directors, Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote, Mr. Knut Umvorn, Hajia Fatima Wali Abdurrahman, Alaji Abdu Dantata, and Alaji Sada Ladan Baki. I would also like to introduce the representative of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Taiwo Dusoya. You're welcome. And also of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr. Godstime Wenekai. You're welcome. Our auditors are also represented by our auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have Mr. Oladele Oladipo in the room. Thank you. And our registrar, Meristem Registrars, Mrs. Mubo Olashoko. You're welcome, madam. The Corporate Affairs Commission earlier informed us that they wouldn't be able to join the meeting physically, but they are joining us virtually. I would also like to introduce the shareholders present in the room with us, who are also acting as proxies for the shareholders that cannot be physically present due to the pandemic. They are Sir Sonny Nwosu, who kindly gave us the opening prayer. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Nona Awo, you're welcome. Mrs. Bisi Bakari, you're welcome, madam. And Mr. Adeolu Akisonya, you're welcome. Thank you. I now call on the company secretary to read the notice of the meeting. Mr. Samuel.
Thank you, ma'am. Notice of annual general meeting. Notice is hereby given that the annual general meeting of NASCON Allied Industries PLC, NASCON, for the year ended 31st December 2019, we hold on Monday, 27th July 2020 at the Civic Center, Ozumba, Mbadiwe Road, Victoria Island, Lagos, at 1 p.m. prompt to transact the following business. 1. To lay before the meeting the audited financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2019, along with the director's report, the report of the independent auditors and the audit committee thereon. 2. To declare a dividend. 3. To re-elect the following non-executive directors who are retiring by rotation and have offered themselves for re-election. A. Mr. Kunut Ulvmoy. B. Alhaji Audu Dantata. 3. C. Halima Aliko Dangote. 4. To reappoint the company's independent auditors. 5. To authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the independent auditors. 6. To elect shareholder members of the audit committee. Special business. To fix the remuneration of the directors for the year ending 31st December 2020. 8. To consider and if thought fit, pass the following as an ordinary resolution, that in compliance with the rules of the Nigerian Stock Exchange governing transactions with related or interested persons, the general mandate circular in respect of recurrent transactions may be entered into with a related party or interested person, which are of revenue and trading nature, or are necessary for the company's operations, including but not limited to the procurement of goods and services on normal commercial transaction terms, as contained in the circular in the 2019 report, that the report be and is hereby approved. Notes: a member of the company entitled to attend and vote at the annual general meeting can appoint a proxy to attend and vote instead of him or her. A proxy need not be a member of the company. In view of the current COVID-19 pandemic, the directive to minimize social contacts by restricting the number of persons at public gatherings and in accordance with the Corporate Affairs Commission's approval and guidelines on holding annual general meetings of public companies by taking advantage of Section 230 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act using proxies. All members are hereby advised that attendance for the meeting shall be by proxy. Shareholders are therefore advised to kindly appoint proxies to represent them at the meeting, as the company is bound by the directives of the on the maximum number of people permitted in a social or public gathering. Consequently, members are requested to appoint a proxy of their choice from the following list of proposed proxies to represent them at the meeting. 1. Mrs. Yemisi Ayeni. 2. Mr. Olakunle Alake. 3. Mr. Paul Farah. 4. Professor Chris Ogbeche. 5. Sir Sonny Nwosu. 6. Mrs. Bisi Bakari. 7. Mr. Nona Awo. And 8. Mr. Adeolu Akinsanya. A proxy form is enclosed in the annual report and can be accessed on the company's website, www.nasconplc.com. For the instrument of proxy to be valid, it must be completed and duly stamped for the purpose of this meeting. The company has made arrangement at its own cost for the stamping of the duly completed proxy forms, which must be deposited at the office of the registrar, Meristem Register Limited, at number 213, about Macaulay Way, Adekunle
Yaba, Lagos. You can also reach them by email at info@meritimeregistrar.com, not less than 48 hours before the time fixed for the meeting. If the dividend recommended by the directors is approved, the dividend will be paid on Wednesday, 29 July, to shareholders whose names appear in the register of members at the close of business on Tuesday, 14 July 2020. E-dividend. Notice is hereby given to all shareholders to open bank accounts, stockbroking accounts, and CSCS accounts for the purpose of dividend payment in line with the Securities and Exchange Commission's directive. Detachable e-mandate application forms for the e-dividend is attached to the annual report and can be accessed on the company's website at www.nasconplc.com to enable all shareholders furnish particulars of their bank accounts to the registrar as soon as possible. The e-dividend form is also available on the website of the company's registrar, www.meritimeregistrar.com. Closure of registers of members. The register of members and transfer books of the company will be closed on Wednesday 15th to Thursday 16th of July 2020 to enable the registrar update the register of members. Nomination of the audit committee. In accordance with Section 259(5) of the Companies and Other Matters Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, any member may nominate a shareholder as a member of the audit committee by giving notice in writing of such nomination to the company secretary at least 21 days before the annual general meeting. The Securities and Exchange Commission's Code of Corporate Governance for Public Companies has indicated that members of the audit committee should have basic financial literacy and should also be able to read financial statements. Therefore, nomination should be accompanied by a copy of the nominee's curriculum vitae. Unclaimed dividend. Shareholders are hereby informed that a number of dividend warrants have been returned to the registrar as unclaimed. Any member affected by this notice is advised to contact the registrar, Maritime Registrar Limited, at number 213, about Macaulay Way, Adekunle, Yaba, Lagos. The list of unclaimed dividends can be accessed via the company's website, www.nasconplc.com, or the registrar's website, www.meritimeregistrar.com. Right to ask questions. It is the right of shareholders to ask questions not only at annual general meeting but also in writing prior to the meeting. Questions should be addressed to the company secretary and submitted at the registrar office of the company or by email to adedayo.samuel@dangote.com, not later than 1 week before the annual general meeting. Directors' profile. The profile of directors, including those for re-election, is enclosed in the annual report and can be accessed on the company's website, www.nasconplc.com. Special notice is hereby given pursuant to Section 256 of the Corporate Companies and Allied Matters Act that Mr. Kunut Ulfmue, Professor Chris Ogwechi, both non-executive directors of the company, recently attained the age of 70 years and have indicated their willingness to continue in office. Electronic annual report. The electronic version of the annual report will be available online for viewing and download from the company's website at www.nasconplc. Shareholders who provided their email addresses to the registrar will receive the electronic version of the annual report via email. Furthermore, shareholders who are interested in receiving the electronic version of the annual report should request by contacting the registrar via their website, www.meritimeregistrar.com, or email directly at info@meritimeregistrar.com. Live streaming of the meeting proceedings. The annual general meeting will be streamed live from the following social media channels. Website, https://www.nasconplc.com/investor relations. B, YouTube, https:// www.youtube.com/Dangote Group. A.A. Samuel, Company Secretary, dated 24th April 2020.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. It is necessary to draw the attention of shareholders to the measures we have taken as a responsible corporate citizen due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. In compliance with federal and state directives, the number of people physically present at this meeting is limited to 20. In addition, we have taken several precautionary steps, including the provision of sanitizers, face masks, as well as the checking of temperatures and ensuring social distancing between attendees. Before we move to item 1 on the agenda, let me present to you the chairman's statement contained in the annual report and accounts already circulated. Do you agree that we should take it as read? Thank you, distinguished shareholders. So we now move on to item 1 on the agenda. For the records, I would like to confirm that you have had the report and accounts for the period ended December 31st, 2019 for the required statutory period. Accordingly, I would like to formally lay before the meeting the annual report and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon. I would like to ask the representative of the auditors to read the report of the auditors on pages 65 to 68 of the annual report and accounts. Mr. Oladipo, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The independent auditor's report is on pages 65 to 68 of the annual report. With the kind permission of the shareholders and Madam Chairperson, I would like to restrict my presentation to just the opinion paragraph on page 65 and the report on other legal and regulatory requirements on page 68. Thank you. Page 65. Independent Auditor's Report to the members of NASCON Allied Industries PLC. Report on the audit of the financial statements. In our opinion, NASCON Allied Industries PLC's financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the company as of 31st of December 2019 and of its financial performance and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards and the requirements of the Companies and Allied Matters Act and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act. Page 68. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Companies and Allied Matters Act requires that in carrying out our audit, we consider and report to you on the following matters. We confirm that, 1, we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. 2, the company has kept proper books of account so far as appears from our examination of those books, and returns adequate for our audit have been received from branches not visited by us. 3, the company's statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of account, signed for PricewaterhouseCoopers, 23rd March 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oladipo. In accordance with the provision of Section 3596 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20, LFN 2004, the Audit Committee duly carried out their duties as required on the accounts for the period ended 31st December 2019. I now ask the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Dr. Oke Nwuke, to read the Audit Committee report, which is on page 62 of the annual report and accounts.
Good afternoon, distinguished shareholders.
Afternoon, sir.
The committee report, as indicated by the Chairperson, is on page 62 and 63. The committee is made up of 6 members, 3 representative of shareholders, and 3 members of the board of directors. Now, the other members that are not here, as indicated by the chairperson, include Dr. Omar Farouk, Alhaji Akuda Isi Sarat, Halima Aliko Dangote, Alhaji Abiu Dantata, and Professor Chris Eguja. I think he's there, sorry. Now, the meetings of the committee, as indicated on the annual report, have been published, so maybe I will spare us that, if I'm allowed. The Statutory Audit Committee responsibilities: ensure the independence and objectivity of the audit, reviewing the adequacy and effectiveness of NASCON and Allied Industry PLC internal control policies prior to endorsement by the board, directing and supervising investigation into matters within the scope, such as the evaluation of effectiveness of NASCON and Allied Industries internal controls and business-related misconducts, if any. Security trading policy. In accordance with the Rule 17 of the Nigerian Stock Exchange amended listing rules, the board has put in place a security trading policy which applies to all directors and employees, and also to those who may at any time possess any insider or material information about the company. The security trading policy endorsed by the board is in substantial conformity with the standards set in Rule 17 of the NSE listing rules. Accordingly, it is hereby confirmed that after specific inquiries of all directors of the company, they have all confirmed their compliance with the policy in the period the company results were announced for the 2019 financial year. There is no case of non-compliance with the policy. Furthermore, the compliance of the directors, of the company directors with the listing rules and anti-insider trading policy will continue to be disclosed in the company's quarterly and other financial reports. External auditors. In accordance with the provisions of Section 359, subsection 6 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria, Cap C20 LFN 2004, we have examined the auditor's report for the year ended at 1st December 2019. We have obtained all information and explanation we required. In our opinion, the auditor's report is consistent with our review of the scope and planning of the audit. We are also satisfied with the accounting and reporting policies of the company and according to the legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. Having reviewed the auditor's findings and recommendations in the management letter, we are satisfied with the management's response therein. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mbuke. Thank you. I will be pleased to answer questions that you may have on the reports and accounts before we proceed to the next item of business. Any questions? Okay, we have 2 questions. Could you come to the mic, please, sir?
The chairman of the board of NASCON Allied Industries PLC, distinguished directors, very distinguished shareholders. I want to start my comment by thanking you for giving me the opportunity and others to represent the shareholders of NASCON at this meeting. It's a privilege, and I'm quite sure that we are going to speak the minds of those who are unable to be here today. Let me start with my comment with the issue of unclaimed dividends. If you go to, I have to battle with this thing. May I refer you to page 124 of the annual report, where we have 748 million naira outstanding as unclaimed dividends. I wonder what the Secretariat and the registrars are doing about this, especially during this period that shareholders are seeing whatever comes from the companies as palliative to them. I want to appeal to them that they should do as much as possible, double what they have done in the past, to ensure that these people get their money. Just recently, the Institute of Secretaries and Administrators did something about this as to how to attack the unclaimed dividend issue. If we go through that route, it might be very helpful to get these people to get their money. We are also aware that in Nigeria, the issue of money is taken as a very big secret. Some people that must have died instead did not even inform their families that they have dividend in place. And some who are in the rural area may not have embraced e-transaction. And there must be a way to get them to embrace this so that the money will not just be lying there. For me, I believe that the registrars has a lot of responsibility to this because they are the custodians of this money. And from the time some of these monies were taken away from them, we have had a problem of people going to the registrars, whom they know very well, than going to the company. And for me, again, once a dividend is declared, the money is no longer belonging to the company that declared the dividend. So we must approach this thing in a way that these people will get their money. I also know very clearly that the Chartered Institute of Capital Markets, they are also doing something about it. It's very important that within this period, 748 million naira is outstanding. And like a television program I watched over the weekend is saying that the outstanding unclaimed dividend is above 150 billion naira. And the more higher these figures are, the more attractive to government, and they can decide to do anything. We've actually fought them when they wanted to set up unclaimed dividend trust fund. We fought them because we believe that government money is nobody's money. At the time these people will come up for their money, they might not even get it. So please, I appeal to companies to put in more effort to ensure that these shareholders get their money. I also look at the profile of the capitalization of our company. In the last 11 years, we have not increased capital. We have not increased capital. Let me quickly refer you to the page that okay, 117, page 117. We have not increased capital, whereas from the reporting of the CFO, we have a lot of money lying down in the retained earning there, which we could use to increase capital by appreciating the shareholders that have stayed with us. Precisely what I'm talking about is bonus. That's what I'm talking about. Then let's go back to let's go to page 91 of this annual report. Under page 91, which I think is the reporting line of the CFO, there's something I saw there which I need. Okay, sorry. Page 91, what I want to talk about there is for you to look at revenue by location of customer. Revenue by location of customer. If you look at it, we have to do a lot of work. Even though when you talk about eastern flank, the turnover dropped slightly. And if you also look at the north, it's very static. So we need to put in a lot of work in these two regions, west and east, to sell our product. I listened to the jingle this morning, and I discovered that what we were hearing here was just English and Hausa language, whereas this product is being consumed by all the geographical areas of this country. So the jingle needs to be improved to include both Yoruba and Igbo other than just outside. I don't know how it came about, but that was what was being played here today. So I advise that we should expand the jingle to include other languages. Then I would like to take you again to page 70, which has to do with receivables. I know that production line like this, you have a system of ensuring that you push in products to the customers. And once the cutoff period for the accounting year is December, whatever fails to come in within that 31st December becomes receivable. But it will be nice for us to have just few lines in the account to show the movement of the receivables. I know very well that within the cutoff period of 31st December, we have also been able to sell. And by the time we have this schedule of receivable, it will be very clear to the shareholders that we may not have had a static transaction within that period. So I appeal that the CFO should also look at that and see what we can do for a further disclosure of the accounting system. I want to go to page 27 of this annual report, and I want to find out, under page 27, we have a lot of gathering. My question there is that, are these people in this picture our staff? If you go to page 27, are they all our staff? So I just saw that this number is so high, rejoicing, maybe they just got their Christmas bonus or something like that. So it is very important for us to understand that our staff strength and that they are happy people. So that's why I asked that question. But let us go to the CFO report. The CFO report is ends on page 20. Under the CFO report, there are certain things that I need to find out. The report is okay. All the reporting segment here is very good. It's a very big disclosure. But let us look at revenue by product. Revenue by product on page 17. There's an item there, salt, seasoning, vegetable oil, and freight. And the amount is very significant. So I want to know the chairman to explain further on freight here, whether it's part of our business, where we're able to make a turnover of 4.2 billion naira. It's very important because once we are looking at our company, we want to believe that it's all about food. But when freight comes into it, there is need for explanation to shareholders. Furthermore, under that, now we also need to watch this. Finance income, that's on page 18. Finance income, bank deposit, blah, fixed deposit, blah, treasury bill, that. At the end of the day, it amounted to 91 billion naira. Then downwards, you see, finance costs, lease interest amounted to 223 million naira. 223 million naira. The other one, I'm sorry, was also million naira. So when we start seeing things like this, that the cost of borrowing is overwhelming the revenue, the interest from deposit, it becomes something that we need to start shouting so that we will know. And because the board must give us a position that gives us hope that such borrowing is not going to affect the fortune of the company. And finally, let me go to the MD's report. The MD's report is on page 15. The MD's report is on page 15. And I want to say here that it was short of, all I saw here looks like the report was actually written before the COVID-19. That's the way I analyze this. What is the focus of investment in the coming year? I expected that this report should emphasize on the pandemic that we are going through. Then, what is the outlook for NASCON in 2020? It was not definite. It was not definite. For us, information is key in anything we do. And I think the MD's statement should give us clear hope that due to this is where we are going, this is where we are going, this is where we are going. It's possible that he may want to do that at this meeting. But once I didn't see anything attacking the issue of pandemic, it looks to me that this thing was written before the pandemic issue. We are all aware that the pandemic is a serious problem on every investment. So, Chairman, having said that, I have to appreciate the fact that you were even able to give dividend, but in future, I also want the 2019 at glance to have percentage variance. So once we flip to that side, we'll know the performance of the whole year and the comparison that is given on this account. On that note, I want to express my appreciation to the board management and staff of this company. We believe that the future will be rosy because salt is a needed product in one's life, everywhere. And we don't believe that trading in salt and the seasoning itself, that we are not going to make profit. So thank you very much. May God continue to bless us, give us the knowledge to move this company forward. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much.
Yes, before I leave, please, on the dividend, I just forgot to mention that we have money. Why are you pushing our dividend to 2 days after the AGM? Why can't we get our dividend today or tomorrow morning? What's the problem about that? Please, 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 use your good office to ensure that shareholder gets their dividend today or tomorrow than 2 days' time. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we'll address those questions before we take any others, because otherwise the list will be long. So if I can just ask Paul to address the operational ones. Thank you, and then we'll take other questions.
Hello. In terms of the MD's report, yes, sir, it was written towards the end of the first month of COVID, so apologies on that. I'd like to elaborate further. In terms of 2020, even with COVID, we are cautiously optimistic. We've had a successful second quarter, and we have a really positive outlook for the rest of the year. So I think from a performance point of view, we're definitely optimistic for the rest of the year. And I think apologies again for that. I could have brought in some extra regarding COVID and what we're physically doing around that. I think in terms of in terms of the cost of borrowing, we did see a slight increase in the cost of borrowing. That was primarily due to Salt Village, the new salt refinery that we have currently in build in Apapa, and that was the reason for us taking additional funds. In terms of item number 6, the freight part of our business, we have separated freight up until this date. We also we charge market rates for the freight for our products to be delivered to customers. So that is the charge for our products to move from wherever our factories are to the market or to the customer itself. In terms of our receivables, we'll implement that. We will bring up, we'll show you the movements in future. That's no problem at all. We shall do that. Item number 3, in terms of the geographical distribution of our revenue, sir, and our customers, is that currently in 2020, it's been a key focus of ours to increase our volumes both in the east and in the west. 2020 year to date, we've seen a 40% increase in the west. So just to let you know, it is key for us. And we'll also take on board what you said earlier regarding the marketing. We'll go and have a look, but I know there are plans for an entire marketing campaign coming through in Q4 for the East, sir. The West has also been confirmed and finalized in terms of the adverts. In terms of the outstanding dividends, the 747. So prior to COVID coming online, we were working with Meristem to do a number of engagements in various cities. We had started with that, and then COVID had started. So what we will do, we'll work with Meristem and find a way to see to make sure that we start working on the unclaimed dividends to bring down this value. Sorry, and the staff, in terms of the photo, yes, sir, that was after one of our staff meetings in Oregon. We have quarterly meetings, and that was after our meeting, sir, and we got everybody together for the various photos, and that was for our service week, sir.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. Mrs. Bakari, you had your hand up, yes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Chairperson, Board of Directors, Regulatory Authorities here present this afternoon, my co-shareholders, good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Bisi Bakari. Much has been said by the earlier speaker, so I'm going to be very brief. First and foremost, I want to use this opportunity to really commend our board and management for this year's results. The management strived hard to increase the revenue by 6.67%, approximately 7%, despite the challenges our company faced during the year under review. Again, despite all these challenges mentioned by the chairperson and CEO, our board is proposing 40 kobo dividend for approval this afternoon, representing a payout ratio of 57%. This is very good, and we thank the board on behalf of other shareholders for this gesture. Having said that, I will go straight to page 17. Looking at the page 17, I can see that our revenue moved majorly from seasoning and vegetable oil, while salt revenue dropped by 9%, and no revenue generated from our tomato business due to lack of raw materials. Madam, I want to know, how we are addressing the issue of tomato business. Are we looking inward for alternative to bring the business to life? I would like to know. Page 89. Page 89, segmental revenue and results. Madam, I'm really worried about our cost of sales here. If you look at cost of sale on tomato paste, for previous year, for segment revenue on tomato paste, we have nil. I don't know why we have cost of sales for 19.8 million when the revenue segment is nil. The same thing to vegetable oil. Revenue we generated for vegetable oil is 1.576 billion. But if you look at the cost of sale, it's 2.673 billion. The same thing to fruit income. Revenue 4.2 billion, while cost of sales is also 4.788 billion. The three segments, their cost of sales are higher than their revenue they generated. I would like the chairperson to use this opportunity to explain to us why it is so. Page 91. Geographical information. I can see the great channel across the three regions in revenue generation. This is highly commendable. But I would like to know why revenue in the East dropped so sharp by over 300 million. Over 300 million naira when compared with the increase witnessed in the West and North during the year under review. I would like to know. Lastly, page 93. Note 13.2, administrative expenses. If you look at our consulting and professional fees, chairperson, you will see that the jump for the consulting and professional fees is on the high side, from 9.9966 million to 43.3 million. I want you to use this opportunity to explain why the jump from consulting and professional fees from 9.9966 million to 43.3 million. Thank you once again for the opportunity given to me.
Thank you very much. Okay, Paul, do you want to address this? Thank you.
Morning, ma'am. Thank you for your questions. Item 1, how are we addressing the tomato business? I think currently our tomato business has been mothballed, our group company is looking at farming and tomato farming so we can get feedstock. But as you're aware, tomato paste is not valid for Forex anymore, so we can't import any tomato paste, and we won't get any funds allocated for it. So it's currently mothballed. Once we see that there is local production, then we will buy from the local market. Going to item number 2, which is on page 89.
Just explain that.
Yes. So in terms of tomato paste, in terms of your segment cost, your 19.811 million, that is your depreciation on your asset that is still expensed. Secondly, the vegetable oil. During the period, the borders opened. We had bought feedstock locally in Nigeria. The borders had opened, and the price crashed last year significantly for vegetable oil. So that is key on the pricing for vegetable oil. And then our freight income, The negative position there was also we had given some special rates during the year on some of the haulage, specifically up to the northeast and northwest, and that was key for the reduction in the freight charge. Why is the east dropping? In terms of last year, we had a number of issues with our distribution into the east, both from Port Harcourt and from Lagos. It's been a key focus for us this year. So we focused really on the Benin area, Enugu, Onitsha, and from Port Harcourt, Aba. So we are focused on those areas currently, and we're looking at we're actually currently regaining market share in those areas. Item number 4, in terms of the consultancy fees, we had a number of consultancy fees that related to both the tomato paste and oils businesses in terms of their valuations last year. We also had a number of charges under the IFRS 16, the new regulations. Those were the key increases in the consultancy fees.
Thank you. I believe, Mr. Awo, you had a question. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, the chairperson, other directors, very distinguished fellow shareholders, especially those that are not able to attend this meeting in person. I will quickly run through the few items that I have on the plate. I haven't been fortunate to have other persons use their fork and spoon to take some of the seeds that were in the plate earlier. Let me also start realizing that we have over 33,500 shareholders. Let me also then start from their own field, which also includes me. On page 124, that has been talked about, of the unclaimed dividend. First, I want to say that the unclaimed dividend for 2007 that you have in there is already status bar. So that money now belongs to the company because it's over 12 years. So what we really have in terms of unclaimed dividend, as far as this account is concerned, is 712 million, not the figure that you have in this document. But for me, much more is the fact that what is it that we have done with the monies that we have over the years in unclaimed dividend? I was expecting to find in this account that we have invested the money and the investment has brought X amount of benefits. That is an area I want us to look going forward while making efforts to make sure that the number also does go down. Having gone through this account, especially page 8 to 43, that told the story of our life as a company, it's obvious that the picture that you have on page 61 tells the whole story. Because if you look at that plant well, despite the size of coin that you have there, the plant had a stunted growth, which means that we really still have a challenge. And that challenge is also further depicted on page 115. The margin in the year under review is the lowest in almost 10 years. And if you look at that margin, less than 10%, that itself tells me the story. To be exact, 6.2%. That's the margin in the year under review, compared to 17.2% at the previous year, and even as high as 20.7% in 2017. All of these points to the fact that there's a challenge. But it's also important to mention that if we didn't have the role that seasoning played in the year under review, the story will have been even be far worse. So it's important that we recognize that. But my major concern, having heard what you are doing concerning tomato, what is it that we're doing in terms of vegetable oil? Having read in this account as well that smuggling was a major challenge. So what is it that we're doing differently, not only in terms of smuggling, but the non-availability of forex as well? What is the new game? So I will be able to win the match. I was also expecting that had the tax improvement that we had in the year under review, had it not come onto the table, again, it would have been an extremely difficult year. Because if you look at the tax improvement of almost 1.1 billion in the year under review, probably the 40 kobo dividend that we're even proposing will have been difficult. But having said all of that, I will be hoping that looking at page 70, 101 and 103, that you'll be giving an update around the waiver in terms of the loan from the government. What is the update in terms of the waiver? Are we likely to get that? Because that itself will help to depress the interest that we're likely to pay. Because if we get waiver, then that will also make life much more comfortable. I am not sure that you have spoken, even in the chairman's statement, around the issue of receivables. Receivables currently standing by this account over 10 billion in a year that our total revenue was 27 billion. I think it's something that you need to speak around and about. So we also know what direction going forward. Because the reason I ask this, while you find a few indicators indicating that, oh, tomorrow may be better, you find another set of indicators indicating that, oh, we are in a difficult time going forward. Because when I look at this account on page 95, and I find that we added 42 additional hands in terms of employment, it then means that, oh, there's something that they certainly have to work with, okay? And yet you come with the other results and then you are not certain as to. So it's important that all of this is taken as a way of providing not necessarily a forward-looking statement, but at least talking around the future. And still talking about around the future, I will be closing on the note of, if you look at page 119, you don't have the dividend that you pay, but I think that that page will provide us opportunity on the last line there to talk about the closing prices as far as you are listed on the market. Talk about the share price for the closing of each year. That way, it also becomes easier to assess what you are doing. And for the dividend that you pay, I think that what you have on page 124 also provides you an opportunity for you to disclose that. Because if you take just one more line on page 124 and you put a column that says this is the dividend that you pay year-on-year basis, again, that will give a better understanding as to what we're doing. And I will be asking, because looking at this account, I'm not certain that the company has a dividend policy. If you ask me, with a 70 kobo earnings, I was expecting that the worst that you will have paid was a 50 kobo, not, because again, looking at your cash flow, and again, looking at what you paid last year vis-a-vis the earnings. So what is it exactly is our dividend policy? Because all of this will give my understanding of what you are doing a better position, so that I also will know whether I should be selling down or picking more additional shares. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Those are very helpful questions. Just before I hand over to Paul, I would just make a couple of comments. 2019, as has been rightly analyzed, was a tough year. 2020, we're more than halfway through, significantly better. And 2021, without a shadow of a doubt, will be much, much better. So I think in terms of what's the forecast looking forward, it's a very strong forecast. But I'll hand over to Paul to address the detailed questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Question number one, yes, we have invested, or generally we've invested the unclaimed dividends from year to year. Previously, we've invested in treasury bills, but your point is noted about communicating the interest. Item number two, the margin was the lowest in a number of years. Yes, as the chairperson said, last year was extremely challenging. Like we discussed, one of the key areas was the oil specifically, where the price of oil dropped by more than half within a 2-week period. So agreed, this year is looking better. And then with our new businesses, we're also looking at pushing higher margin items. In terms of the oil business, I think the oil business is currently, we've mothballed it for the interim. Key reasons, like you said, the volatility in the market is very risky. We want to protect our core business in terms of salt and seasoning. And once we see if the market is more favorable and there's availability as Forex, or there's a possible backward integration route, then we will definitely look at that. In terms of our receivables, there's an intercompany payable as well as the receivable. So on that area, it's an intercompany, it's a company-related transaction, and there's a receivable and a payable basically with those at that level. Item number 6, the increase in headcount. You're 100% right. We increased a number of salespeople, both in the central, in the west, in the east. Also, our fleet department, we increased by 3 management in that. And then also in the seasoning business, you saw the increase in our seasoning. So we also increased capacity. And we had increased the numbers, obviously, behind that equipment. So that was the key reason for the increase. Item number 7, in terms of the disclosure of the share price, your point is noted. And then in terms of your dividend, we do have a dividend policy of a 70% payout, but we're also looking at current capital projects in process. And if we're spending a lot of money on our new salt refinery at the moment as well, and that also played part in terms of the consideration of determining the dividend for the year.
Thank you very much. So I think we can move on now. Thank you very much for those questions, very helpful. So let's proceed, please. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 8 agenda items to be deliberated on today. I hereby call a poll on items 1 to 5, 7 and 8 on the agenda, pursuant to Section 224, subsection 1, Companies and Allied Matters Act 1990. Therefore, voting for the resolutions in respect of each agenda item will be presented as collated by the registrar. Please note that as they are all ordinary resolutions, each resolution requires 50% of the total votes cast in order to be passed. I will now invite the registrars to provide an explanation about the voting process. Mrs. Olashoku, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had earlier received 440 proxies voting for the resolutions to be passed today, and we have 7 shareholders in attendance who have also indicated how they want to vote. So based on that, the results of the resolution to be passed, we have them. So as you call them out, we give the results.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Olashoku. Okay, so the first resolution, the first of the 8, is in respect of the audited financial statements. So we've taken questions on that already, so I think we can proceed now. So will a shareholder kindly move that the annual report and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon, be and are hereby accepted? Can a shareholder please? Thank you very much, Mr. Akisonya. Thank you. Will another shareholder please rise to second this motion? Thank you, Mrs. Bakari. So I now put the motion to a vote. So will the registrar please step forward to announce the results of the poll?
Thank you. Of the 440 shareholders that are eligible to vote at this meeting, 434 shareholders voted to accept the audited accounts, while 6 absented from voting. So we have the votes carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay, because they're ordinary resolutions and the votes are supposed to be taken by show of hands. So I was only counting in terms of number of shareholders, not necessarily the number of shares so represented.
So I think that's fine. Thank you very much. So following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to accept the annual report and accounts, including the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee thereon, has been duly passed. Thank you. We now move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the declaration of a dividend. The board of directors has recommended that a dividend of 40 kobo per share, subject to withholding tax, be declared in respect of the year ended December 31st, 2019, and made payable by Wednesday, 29th of July, 2020. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay. I think that's standard. Adoremi, can you comment on that? Okay, so apparently the payment will be made tomorrow, not Wednesday. Yeah, so that's fine. We meet halfway. Thank you. Okay, so now that we're all on the same side, sir. Okay, so since there are no further questions with the clarification on the payment date, can we proceed? Will a shareholder kindly move that a dividend of 40 kobo per share, subject to withholding tax, be declared in respect of the year ended 31st December 2019? Thank you very much. Sir, and would another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you. Thank you very much. So I now put the motion to a vote. Will the registrar please step forward to announce the results of the poll?
Thank you, ma'am. So of the 440 shareholders voting on this resolution, we have 100% of the shareholders voting unanimously to accept this resolution. There's no vote against or abstention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to declare a dividend of 40 kobo per share in respect of the period ended December 31st, 2019 has been passed. Item 3 on the agenda is the re-election of directors. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
I want to think that the registrar didn't fully appreciate the issue that was raised earlier. Yes, 100%, not problem. But nobody other than what she has will be able to indicate the number of shares that voted to constitute the 100%. I think it will be necessary that it's stated. so that we are all on the same page.
Okay, but normally if we were all physically in the room, we wouldn't know the number of shares represented. Registrar, could you speak to that, please? I think we would have a show of hands and we would have the number of people.
No. This is by proxy, which means that it's going to be one person, the number of shares that you
Yes.
have. The aggregate of those shares
Should be stated.
Yes, should be stated.
Okay, thank you. In order not to belabor the issue, okay, I actually have the number, but I was just thinking that since we count by person, that it wasn't necessary to say the number of shares so represented, but I can do that. The total number of shares represented by the 100% vote is 1,909,456,929 votes, shares. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So item 3, the re-election of directors. So before we proceed further, I would like to mention that the register of directors' attendance at the board meetings during the period under review is available for inspection in accordance with section 258, subsection 2 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004. So at this meeting, Mr. Knut Umborn, Alhaji Abdu Dantata, and Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote are retiring by rotation from the board in compliance with section 252, subsection 2 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004, and being eligible have offered themselves for re-election. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay, so let's proceed. Are we happy to take the 3 of them together? One after the other. Okay, so re-election of Mr. Knut Umborn. Will a shareholder please move that Mr. Umborn be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company? Okay, thank you very much. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion? Mrs. Bakare, thank you. Okay, I now put the motion to a vote. Will the registrar please step forward to announce the results of the poll?
Thank you. Of the 440 shareholders voting by proxy and present here, 436 shareholders voted in favor of the resolution, while 4 voted against. 436 shareholders is represented by 1,909,456,929 shares, while those voting against are 4, and their shares represented is 45,066,446 units of shares.
Thank you very much. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Mr. Knut Umborn as a director of the company has been passed. Next, we have re-election of Alhaji Abdu Dantata. Will a shareholder please move that Alhaji Abdu Dantata be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company? Thank you very much, Mr. Akisoya. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you very much, sir. So I now put the motion to a vote. Will the registrar please step forward? She stepped forward already to announce the results of the poll. Thank you.
Thank you. So in the same vein, we have 436 shareholders representing 1,909,456,929 shares voting in favor of this resolution, while we have 4 shareholders voting against, and the shares so represented is 45,066,446 units of shares.
Thank you. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Alhaji Abdu Dantata as a director of the company has been passed. Re-election of Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote. Will a shareholder please move that Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company? I think I saw Mrs. Bakare. Thank you. Thank you. Will a shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you very much, Mr. Kisan. I will now put the motion to a vote, so could the registrar please announce the result of the poll?
Thank you. 434 6 shareholders vote in favor of this resolution, while 4 votes against. The number of shares voting for is 1,909,456,929 units of shares, while 4 shareholders voting against number of shares is 45,066,446 units of shares.
Thank you very much. So following the results of the voting as just announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote as a director of the company has been passed. Please join me in congratulating our 3 re-elected directors while we wish them their best in their continued service to our dear company. Item 4 on the agenda, appointment. Sorry? Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Since they are not coming in as a new auditor, it is not usual for us to bring up reappointment. Rather, the next item is the appropriate thing, authorizing directors to approve the remuneration of the external auditors.
Okay, that's fine. It's actually just for the reappointment. It's for the records, and we were not proposing to put it to a vote.
Yeah. So maybe that is printer's devil.
No, I don't think it's no, it's not for the records. We're not putting it to a vote. It's just for the information. We're laying it before the meeting.
Okay, because it's here as an item of
Okay, to be voted on. No, it's not. It's not. Okay, so I'll just go through that very quickly. So Section 357 of CAMA states that at any AGM, a retiring auditor, however appointed, shall be reappointed without any resolution being passed unless he is not qualified for reappointment. In addition, Rule 33.2 of the SEC Code requires that external audit firms should be retained for no longer than 10 years continuously. Our auditors, PricewaterhouseCoopers, have been in office for only 2 years and are qualified for reappointment. Since no resolution is required for their appointment, Messrs. PricewaterhouseCoopers are hereby appointed as the company's auditors for the year 2020. Thank you. So item 5, as you rightly pointed out, is remuneration of the auditors. Section 3611B of the Companies and Allied Matters Act requires that the remuneration of the auditors shall be fixed by the company in general meeting or in such manner as the company in general meeting may determine. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? No? Thank you. So let's proceed. Would a shareholder kindly move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration and expenses of the auditors in respect of the year ending 31st December 2020? Thank you. Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you, Mrs. Bakari. I will now put the motion to a vote. Could the registrar kindly announce the results of the poll?
Thank you. 440 shareholders vote in favor of this resolution, and the shares of this for this 440 shareholders is 1,954,523,375 units of shares.
Thank you. So following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration and expenses of the auditors in respect of the year ending December 31st, 2020 has been passed. We now move on to item 6 on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the election of members of the Statutory Audit Committee. Section 359, subsection 4 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004, provides that a maximum of 6 members of the Audit Committee, consisting of 3 directors and 3 representatives of the shareholders, be elected at an annual general meeting. The Act further provides that, in the case of election of the shareholders' representatives, nominations shall be received not later than 21 days before the date of the meeting. The Board of Directors has nominated the following 3 directors to continue as members of the Audit Committee: Professor Chris Ogbechi, who's sitting here, Alhaji Abdu Dantata, and Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote. Since the board has made valid nominations as required by Section 359, subsection 4, there is no need to vote on them. I hereby declare that the 3 directors are hereby appointed as members of the Audit Committee of NASCON Allied Industries PLC. Ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Cap C20 LFN 2004, there are 3 more seats to be filled on the Audit Committee. Within the period allowed by law, 13 shareholders who had filed nominations voluntarily withdrew their nominations. And I would like to say that before this meeting, we saw the withdrawal forms. Accordingly, as at July 6, 2020, only 3 valid nominations were received by the company secretary from the shareholders for election as members of the Audit Committee. The nominations are Dr. Umar Farouk, nominated by Hajia Ayodele Kudaisi. Hajia Ayodele Kudaisi, nominated by Mr. Kenneth Nwosu. Dr. Oke Onwuke, who's in the room with us here, nominated by Mr. Adeolu Akisoya. Are there any questions before the motion for their appointment is put to the meeting? Yes, please, go ahead.
I heard you say that you had 13 nominations, but I think the withdrawal should be 10, not 13 withdrawing. If you had 13 nominations, for 3 to be valid, it means that 10 people withdrew their nomination. Am I correct?
So 13 nominations withdrew. In total, we received 16.
Okay,
yes.
That's the clarification I want.
Yes, yeah. In total, we received 16. Thanks for pointing that out. That indeed is, yeah. Okay, since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. So since there are 3 valid nominations as required by law, would the shareholder kindly move that Dr. Umar Farouk, Alaja Ayodele Kudaisi, and Dr. Oke Umwuke be and are hereby elected as members of the Audit Committee to serve until the conclusion of the next AGM. Thank you, Mr. Kisoya. Will another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you, Mrs. Bakari. Okay, so will all those in favor of this motion please signify by raising their right hands? Yeah. Okay, sorry, these notes are just a bit misleading here. Sorry about that. So I hereby declare that Dr. Umar Farouk, Alaja Ayodele Kudaisi, and Dr. Oke Umwuke be and are hereby elected as members. Okay, no, we've concluded with those already, yes. No. Can you just give me time to go through it, please, yeah? So we're dealing with the ones that we have just gone through the motion for. The others have already been appointed by the board. Thank you. So as there are no objections, I hereby declare that Dr. Umar Farouk, Alaja Ayodele Kudaisi, and Dr. Oke Umwuke be and are hereby elected as shareholder representatives of the Audit Committee, members of the Audit Committee, until the conclusion of the next AGM. So dear shareholders, I hereby present to you the members of the Audit Committee who will serve until the conclusion of the next AGM. They are 1. Professor Chris Ogbechi, 2. Alhaji Abdu Dantata, 3. Ms. Halima Aliko Dangote, 4. Dr. Umar Farouk, 5. Alaja Ayodele Kudaisi, and 6. Dr. Oke Umwuke. Please join me in congratulating members of the Audit Committee while wishing them the best in the service of our company. Yeah? So item 7 on the agenda, remuneration of directors. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the remuneration of the directors. The directors are proposing the sum of 3 million naira per annum for the chairperson and 2,500,000 naira per annum for each non-executive director. These are the same amounts as in the preceding year. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? No questions, thank you. So would a shareholder kindly move that the resolution to set the remuneration of the chairperson at 3 million naira and the remuneration of the non-executive directors at 2,500,000 naira for the year ending December 31st, 2020 be and is hereby approved. Thank you, Mrs. Bakari. Will another shareholder please second this motion? Thank you, Mr. Kisoyan. Okay, so I now put the motion to a vote. Will the registrar please announce the results of the poll?
All right. 440 shareholders vote in favor of this resolution. There was no vote against nor abstention. The number of shares so represented is 1,415,999 594,523,375 units of shares.
Thank you very much. So following the results of the voting as just announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to set the remuneration of the chairperson at 3 million naira and the remuneration of the non-executive directors at 2,500,000 naira for the year ended December 31st, 2020 has been passed. The final item on the agenda, item 8, is approval of general mandate. So this is the approval of the general mandate circular contained on page 120 of the annual report. The circular is seeking shareholders' mandate to enable the board and management on behalf of the company to enter into related party transactions that are considered beneficial to the company on a normal commercial and competitive basis and at arm's length. The Nigerian Stock Exchange requires all listed companies to receive the approval of shareholders for the mandate and renew same every year. Are there questions before I put the motion on this to the meeting? None. Thank you. Since there are no questions, I hereby ask a shareholder to propose the motion that the general mandate circular on page 120 of the 2019 annual report be and is hereby approved. Thank you, sir. Will a shareholder please second the motion? Thank you. I now put the motion to a vote, and the registrar should kindly announce the result of the poll.
Thank you very much. I have 438 shareholders voting for this resolution, while we have 2 against the resolution. For the resolution, we have 1,912,474,590 units of shares voting for, while we have 442,048,785 units of shares voting against.
Thank you very much. So following the results of the voting as just announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution approving the general mandate for the company to enter into related party transactions has been passed. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the agenda. On behalf of the board, I thank you for your attendance at this meeting and wish to express our appreciation for your continued interest and support for our company over the years. I implore you all to please stay safe and observe all the safety guidelines issued by the NCDC. You may proceed to take your leave after our closing prayers and the national anthem. Could a shareholder please say the closing prayer? Could one of you please say the closing prayer? Either Mr. Awo or Mr. Akisonya, as we had Sam Wosu earlier. Okay, so Mr.
In Jesus' name. In the name of Jesus. Father, we are going now. Father, come up. We are thank God for our meeting today, Father, in the name of Jesus. Father, as we are going now, Father, come and follow us in Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you very much. Can we remain standing for the national anthem?